In this video, I thought I'd talk about how I would make wrestling watchable again. If PMDB was in charge of the WWE, this is how some of my ideas of how I would change things and run things. First off, I would retire Vince McMahon. I feel like he's out of touch and it's time to step down. I'd also fire Stephanie McMahon. I feel like she's done a lot of damage to the business, more bad than good. But I'd book her in a match first off against one of the top women wrestlers of the company, maybe a Paige or Becky Lynch, who's got that cool finisher. And I'd have Stephanie McMahon tap out, and I'd have her, as an inside joke, tap out for all the years she's ruined wrestling, just for my own amusement, and I'd fire her. I'd keep a hold of Paul. I like Paul. Triple H, I think, has done a lot of good behind the scenes, at least, when he's not putting himself over on screen. So I'd keep him around. I'd keep Shane McMahon around, but I'd tell him, "You're no longer the toughest wrestler around here, Shane. I'm not booking you that way. You're not going to be booked where you're almost beating AJ Styles or almost beating The Undertaker. No, all that's history. You're going back to the Shane McMahon that got his ass kicked by Stone Cold Steve Austin back in the 2000s, early 2000s. As for Roman Reigns, I would write his character out. See him a good person. I'd give him another chance. I'd write him out. Feel like he's damaged goods, or just damaged really, because I don't think he's really that good in the ring or good on promo work or good in general. So he's just, the way he's been written and pushed, he's totally damaged, I think. So I'd write him out and I'd repackage him, bring him back like several months later or maybe a year even, and repackage him as something completely different and try and start fresh with him, because I feel like they've just killed him, totally buried him the way they've booked him. I don't think he'll ever be over the way they want him to be over, the way they've pushed him. Brock Lesnar, I would scrap the whole. I'd keep Brock Lesnar around because I love Brock Lesnar. I mean, he's great when booked right. I'd keep him as this great white shark he is, but I'd keep him like the great white shark of Jaws, in the original Jaws movie, where you didn't really see him all that much. But when you do see him, he kicks some ass. He'd appear in special pay-per-views and at WrestleMania. I'd scrap the whole in-ring segments where it's just Paul Heyman talking. I'm a Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman guy. I'm even bored of them segments. I think they're a waste of time, waste of TV time. I'd get rid of all them. I'd probably split them up actually, and just continue this monstrous push of Brock Lesnar when he comes back. He's just so destructive. I'd eventually like to build up a new star and eventually beat Brock Lesnar at a WrestleMania, but I wouldn't force the agenda. If there was no star and I felt like I had built up right or was the guy to beat Brock Lesnar, I wouldn't rush into it. I wouldn't just pull the trigger on Brock Lesnar. But if I ever came up with the guy to beat Brock Lesnar, whom I thought was legitimate enough, and I would have him destroy Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Then I would induct Brock Lesnar into the Hall of Fame. I'd retire Brock Lesnar. While in charge, I would bring back Jim Johnston. What on earth was he doing being fired? All the good songs he's brought to the WWE, I'd bring him right back. I think it's appalling that he's been released. They never signed him into another contract after all his work he's done for them. So bring him back. Also, I'm going to touch on the games of the WWE. I feel like, what I've heard from fans and other people online, that the games aren't so good these days. I haven't bought a game since WWE 2K14, and that wasn't very good either. But I'd keep all the exhibition mode and the season mode, but I'd add to the wrestling game. I'd make sure the wrestling matches were all right and make them fun again, and the right mechanics behind the wrestling matches and the season mode. And it'd also make the game bigger. Have like WWE meets GTA and have the ability to roam about backstage, roam outside, challenge people to a fight, drive about in your Stone Cold truck. If you pick Steve Austin or if you pick Brock Lesnar, you can go about suplexing people in different places around the city or around the country, depending how much you could do with the game. I think it'd be great. I've always thought WWF characters would fit in well in a GTA type environment. So you'd have your traditional wrestling, exhibition mode, season mode, all that to please all that fans. And then you'd expand the game and make it more fun. And you could play as wrestlers, exploring the city and driving about and getting into fights and so on and so forth. I think it'd be a blast. Back to the wrestling side of things. There'd be 3 types of wrestlers I would push. 1, if you've got wrestling talent, you'd be pushed. 2, if you could cut good promos. And 3, if you draw money, and I mean big money. That's the 3 type of wrestlers I'd be pushed. And I'd market, I wouldn't have a face of the WWE. I'd market the WWE like this is the place where all the top wrestlers of the world are, all the top performers are here, right here in the WWE. And I wouldn't have just, a face of the company. I'd market the WWE brand as just being the place to be for the best wrestling matches on the planet. That's how I'd market WWE. I feel like the way they've had faces in the past, like John Cena, I think I just drove a lot of fans away, more fans away than fans in. And always come away with this argument that a lot of kids watch because of John Cena. Well, actually, a lot more kids were watching when John Cena wasn't the face. That's the fact. As for John Boy himself, I'd keep him around in a part-time capacity. He's one of the wrestlers whom I wouldn't know what to do with. I wouldn't have him win 17 titles, absolutely not. I would take him down a peg or 2, and I'd have my team of agents, and that's another thing. I'd scrap the Hollywood writers; they'd be all gone. I'd bring in the likes of Jake Roberts instead, and maybe try and get Steve Austin in or Bill Eddy, Demolition Axe. These 3 wrestlers have all got great minds about the business. Try and bring guys like that in behind the scenes to work with the boys, and then try and help them elevate the current wrestlers to the next level, and so on. So instead of the Hollywood writing team that've never wrestled before, they'd all be gone with Stephanie McMahon, and I'd bring back just bullet points. Not the have wrestlers read too many lines. It comes off so unnatural when everything's overly scripted and stuff. So I'd have bullet points and let the wrestlers, make the moment themselves. Let them create their own character. And if things didn't go right someday, you could always, just work on what didn't go right. What the crowd was reacting to. And I just feel like overly scripted promos is not best for business. It just comes across as phony. You want a bit of believability with the wrestling. And I think when wrestling was done right, it's when you had your Steve Austins just, turning up their inner character inside themselves up a notch. It was really them, but it was, the volume was turned up. Where was I going with this? Also, I'm just thinking about the pay-per-views. There's far too many pay-per-views. I'd keep the big 4. I'd keep them the way they are, in January, April, March, WrestleMania, and SummerSlam in August, Survivor Series in November, and so on. But I reduced the pay-per-views to the maximum of 12 a month. I think any more than 12 a month, any more than 12 a year is too much. I'd maybe have, I'd get rid of Fastlane in March. I think it's a waste of pay-per-view. And just, concentrate in March, building up to WrestleMania. I wouldn't have any more pay-per-views in April other than WrestleMania. I'd get rid of Battleground in July. I think it's a waste of time. And I'd keep July free and just build up the SummerSlam and give the pay-per-views like the big 2 SummerSlam, WrestleMania big build-ups again, proper build-ups. And maybe have Survivor Series as the last pay-per-view of the year. And just, in December, slowly build up to the Royal Rumble. So I would scrap about 7 pay-per-views. You'd have their big 4, and ones like Money in the Bank still. But you'd have, as a wrestling consumer, you'd be able to breathe. There wouldn't be a pay-per-view which feels like every week sometimes, the way they've pushed 16 down our throats each year sometimes. So definitely scrap a few pay-per-views. 3-hour Raws would be a thing in the past. I'd cut it to 2 hours maximum. And there wouldn't be breaks during matches. I hate that shit when I have breaks during matches. Like, the product at the moment, Raw, is unbearable to watch. And sometimes the best bits of Raw is the actual in-ring wrestling. But then they ruin that with the adverts during the matches. And I just tune out when that happens. It's like, hell with this. So I would organize it to where maybe you have the entrances and then an advert if you must have an advert. But then once you come back from the commercial, you have your full wrestling match, no breaks. Can you imagine if they done that in real sports? They had a UFC fight and they had an advert during the match, and then by the time you come back, the match is over or the fight's over. They wouldn't do that in real life. I know wrestling's not real, but at least have some believability there. I hate all this adverts during matches. It's ridiculous. Also, with Vince McMahon out of the way, you wouldn't have someone yelling at the commentary of what to say and plugging this, plugging that every 5 minutes, or pushing Roman Reigns down people's throats, talking about him every 5 minutes when he's not even involved in the matches. So I feel like the commentary teams would be more natural, just, let them go, and have a few bullet points here and there for what to promote now and again, but I wouldn't have it every 5 minutes. Michael Cole going about, the big dog, and Roman Reigns, and WWE Network and all this. No. Let it be more natural and call it bloomin' action in the ring for once. So that's just a few of this video's went on a wee bit, so I'm going to wrap it up here. That's just a few of my ideas I would throw about how to make WWE watchable again, whom I would replace, and how I would get rid of the writing team and bring in people who've actually wrestled before and have got a great wrestling mind, like Jake Roberts and Bill Eddy, guys like that. I think I've got great wrestling minds, and bring them, even maybe Jim Cornette as well, bring him back behind the scenes to work and elevate the up-and-coming talent. That's how I would do things. Also, while I was in charge, I'd have to redeem The Undertaker's retirement. I would bring him back. I would say he had a bad hip last year. That's how he lost to Roman Reigns. I'd bring him back, and I'd have a proper send-off. I'd have him go out victorious at WrestleMania. I would advertise who his opponent was, as you'll find out. So I'd have The Undertaker come down at WrestleMania, and it'd be an open challenge. And outcome would be Roman Reigns, none other than Roman Reigns, and I'd troll the fans for a bit. I'd have a little bit of fun. I could just see all the boos from all the fans, and Twitter would be having a meltdown. But I would have Undertaker redeem himself from last year, and I'd have Roman put over The Undertaker. Now, the way they've booked Roman, I'd be like, Undertaker, you have to tombstone this guy 500 times. But Undertaker would be going over, and we'll get that happy moment instead of that depressing moment we got at WrestleMania 33 last year. And Undertaker would walk off into the sunset. That's when I'd probably repackage Roman Reigns. I'd write him off. We'd be depressed from his big loss again, jobbed out to The Undertaker, and then I'd repackage him as something else, 7 months down the line or a year down the line. Anyway, I think I would wrap this up in 15 minutes now. Hope you. It's just a wee fun video of how PMDB would make WWE great again.